welcome to a review of Unity before we get into more advanced portions of the course. So what we're going to do today is just recap the Unity environment, how things work, some of the key things to look out for. So what we're going to do is first off, look at Unity Hub. So Unity Hub is not Unity. It's made by Unity. It's a separate program that manages your different installations of Unity. One of the challenges with Unity is that when you build a project in a particular version of Unity, and then you have to upgrade, then Unity provides an upgrade. The challenge is importing or re-importing your project into that newer version of Unity. But Unity makes a lot of changes in their versions that you might break your project, and then there's the headache of fixing everything. A lot of developers are a little bit hesitant to upgrade their projects all the time. So one of the things that Unity invented was Unity Hub for you to manage the different versions of Unity, so that if you want to keep one project at 2019.1 but you got another project at 2020.2, then you can actually do that. All right, and so that's the beauty of it. As you can see here, I have a few projects here. And they all have different versions of Unity, right? And so I'm able to choose whichever one I want. And if I want to add more versions of Unity, I can just click on installs. All right, you see the different versions of Unity I have installed here. So all of these installations are typically the released versions of Unity. So like 2018.3, 2019.4, 2020.1 right here. But I've got a couple of betas as well, as you can see. And betas are typically manually installed. So you have to actually go to the Unity website to download and install them. So I won't walk through how to install Unity. That's for a separate topic completely. What I'm going to do now is actually create a new project and walk you through the Unity environment. So what we'll do is... before I do though, let's actually review. If you wanted to add a new installation before creating a new project, since we're here, you would click on Add, and you can see the different versions of Unity available for you to download. All right, so you can grab the latest 2020.1, 2019.4, and 2018.4. These are all the long-term stable releases, but the latest pre-release. So here you got 2020.2 beta. All right, so if you want to grab a beta in particular, you might even see some alpha releases here. All right, but if you had a particular version of Unity and you don't see it here, you can still go to the Unity website through the download archive, which is where it's linked here, and you can actually install whichever version you want manually. All right, but then you might have to manually add it into the hub if you want to use it. So a little bit of extra work there, but essentially this is where you would go. Now, suppose you downloaded and installed a version of Unity and you want to modify that installation for reasons being maybe you want to add different target platforms. So you can see here my version of 2020.1.3 has Android support, iOS support, tvOS support, Universal Windows Platform, we got WebGL, and we got the older IL2 CPP version of Windows build support. You just click on the dots. You could say add modules. And you can see whichever modules you want to add, you just check it off, all right, and just hit done, and it'll start installing for you automatically. If you want some language packs, you can also add those in as well. All right, so that's how you would manually update your installation of Unity. All right, so let's go back to our projects. All right, I'm going to add a new project. All right, I can choose the version I want to use. I'm going to use 2019.4 for this course. So with 2019.4, it's going to pop up a new window. All right, I'm going to stick to 3D. All right, for this course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it M1 for Module 1 Review. And give it a home. Okay, so assuming now that you have your window up and running, let's walk through your look and feel for Unity. Now, yours may look different from mine. This is a setup I'm comfortable with. I prefer it this way, but you could always rearrange and play around with it through layout and drag and drop windows wherever you feel like dragging, so you can drag stuff wherever you feel. I won't get into that. I'll let you adjust and play around with a look and feel that you prefer. That just takes time, becomes personal preference. So based on what I have open here, if you don't have a window open that you see here, you could always go to window. You could find any window you're looking for, right? So asset store, package manager is a common one, scene game. If you accidentally close one, you can come back here and find it as well. So let's look at the different windows I have open. So hierarchy. So any game object in the scene will be listed here in the hierarchy. And by default, you have a main camera generated for you and some directional light, so you can actually have some light in the scene. When you hit the main camera, you see the camera preview in your scene. Now I should mention, yes, this is your scene editor. Sometimes especially if you're a beginner, you may get scene mixed up with game. All right, so your game view, this is what you see. This is what your player sees in the game world, right? But right now we're not running anything, so there's really nothing to see here other than what the camera is looking at. All right, you see that here. And so other than the hierarchy, if you click on the project tab, if you don't have any of these things, of course, you can go to window and add them in. All right. So project tab is like your file manager, file navigator for the entire project. You can add folders, you can add files and whatnot. And we'll do that in a moment after we have added a default project to look at and experiment with. So from here, you can see console. Console has your error messages or warning messages. All right. Now, anytime I click on something and I clicked on main camera, I have my inspector. All right. My inspector lists out the properties for that particular item that is highlighted. So in this case, it's main camera. All right. If I click on directional light, you can see that inspector changes, right, to something different. It also highlights a different object that we have here. And I have project settings. All right, so project settings. This becomes more prevalent when you're starting to port to Android and iOS. All right, especially there, because you may want to set up the different settings for Android and iOS. All right, and animator. So if you want to do some animations, here's your animator window. Animations, if you want to create an animation timeline, you can do that here. And asset store. So if you want to bring in any projects, any items that you want to download or purchase from the asset store, whether free or paid, you would do it through here. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to, in asset store, search for microcart with a K. And it may take a bit of digging, but what I'm looking for here, it's a little bit grayed out, is the karting micro game. I'm going to use this as a reference project right now. I've already purchased it. It's free, but I've already technically quote unquote purchased it. And what I want to do now is I want to download it into this project. So I'm going to click on the karting micro game. And as you can see here, it's taking a little bit of time. Now, I've already downloaded it. You might have a download button here, so you may want to click on it. You got more information about it if you wanted to dig into it. There we go. You can see the screenshots of it. We're just going to play around with this. So I'm just going to hit import. It's giving me a warning because it's a complete project. It's going to overwrite all my project settings. So it's warning me that, hey, if you have any other stuff, you may accidentally overwrite your settings. You might have to fix things. You might probably break your project. But since my project is a fresh, brand new project that hasn't been touched at all, this is okay. So I'm going to hit import. It'll take a bit of time to download and import. You might see this window pop up. Unity package has package manager dependencies. In this case, I'm going to say install upgrade. Just let it upgrade what it needs to upgrade. So This might take a bit of time. You may want to pause the video and wait until it's done updating, or grab a coffee or something. It might take a bit of time here. All right, so this may have taken a while for you to install, but now you should have the microkarting project up and running in your Unity window here. And I'm just gonna go over a few things here with that the microkarting project actually helps to do, because it has a lot of the areas that need reviewing. So the first thing is looking at the hierarchy. We have our sample scene, but we need to switch from the sample scene over to the microkarting scene to see a bit more here. So if we expand karting, you see scenes, and now if we click on scenes, let's start with the intro scene. And I'll switch back to scene here. You can see a little cart guy there. Let's see what the game says. The game is all green. Here we go. The idea is here, I guess it's a very generic program, so you could modify it with your own name and whatnot. But we won't get into that just yet. Let's look at the scene here. So we got main camera. We have here canvas. So for our menu, if I expand canvas, so just to review, we know that canvas is like your main menu. Sorry, not main menu, but like sort of like a UI. A UI is probably better description of it. So you got your user interface here, where the user can hit play, do controls. You can have labels, buttons, and whatnot, images, whatever you need for the UI. Right, and you can modify UI controls accordingly, but all the controls have to be inside a canvas. All right, so all of these sub objects within canvas are UI related stuff. We have another object for menu navigation. The one for event system. Event systems tie into canvas because you're waiting for events to happen in order to be able to navigate the game, and so the event system takes good care of that. There's cart display. If I double click on that, there's our good old cart, little friend there. Cart wheels, like all the pieces that belong to cart display, and so on. All right, and so you can see this gives you a better idea of the project files that are here. And typically, this is how you want to break up your application anyway. You want to have a folder for audio. You want to have a folder for scenes, prefabs. So just to remind you, prefabs are objects that you've created or somebody else has created, and you can actually bring it in wholeheartedly into your game without having to recreate them yourself. All right. Scripts. So you need a folder. This is probably a prevalent one. You need a folder for scripts. You could write all of your scripts here. All your C# scripts will go here. And when you double click on any one of them, Visual Studio pops up so that you can edit that script. So Visual Studio is a good way to do this. What's even better is that if you have a larger project, you want to typically open the Visual Studio solution so that you can actually access all the scripts together all at once. And scenes. So put all your scenes inside that folder. We have one for karting anyway. All right. So let's look at prefabs for a sec. So there's prefabs. All right. You can see they're all broken up. Let's start with Kart Classic, so you can see what the different prefabs are. When I click on any one of these objects, you notice that inspector goes wild and repaints itself. So you can see here, this is what the prefab looks like for Kart Display. And then there's Kart ML Agent and Kart Classic Player, right? And so they each have different keys to them, or scripts to them, as you can see, like keyboard input, Kart Animation, right? Kart Player Animator, Arcade Kart, and so on. Speaking of animation, let's actually swap over to the animations folder. So the animations folder has controllers, right? So you need animation controls. So let's open up the kart controller, for example, but you won't see it here in the inspector. You'll see it in the animator tab. So let me just zoom out here. It's a very simple one. You got kart idle, right? Very basic. And you can see that, see if I can stretch that there, and there we go. Zoom out, there we go. So entry is always the first point of entry for any animation, and then it's looking for an animation to go to. So this is always the starting point. Whatever animation that you want to have by default, it's just going to go from entry always to that animation right away. All right, and you can set the speed for it. You can change the actual animation for it. Right. So if I click on that, you notice that it belongs under cart idle. Right. It's right here. The animation's right here. If I click on the animation itself, let's see how it looks. So you can see there's a little bit of rumbling going on. I know it's poor picture there. I think we might be missing some textures to be certain, but yeah, you can see it in play there. So the nice thing about the animation is that you can edit inside the inspector. All right, you can change the loop time, you can change the offset, and so on. So you can edit animations as well. All right, and let's look at audio. So you can see here audio. If I click on any one of the audio files, all right, you can see that the inspector changes to be what the audio file is highlighted. So you can also hear the sound. Click on the little arrow there, the play button. Looks like my computer's lagging a bit. But yeah, if you try playing around with the audio, you can actually hear. You can actually convert, or not convert, but modify the settings for your audio files as well in the inspector. All right. So at this point, I think we've sort of walked through a lot of the features of Unity. I think it's best to now jump in and actually get our hands dirty with some projects. So in the next module, we're going to look at the camera, and not just the camera itself, but things we can do with the camera. So it'll be a little bit of a review, but we're also going to jump into doing things like Cinemachine and having a camera follow a player, different angles of cameras, and so on. So I'll look forward to see you in the next video.